Hello beautiful soul, and welcome to Manifest with me, Rebecca G. I'm your manifestation, meditation and mindset coach who blends equal measures of soul, strategy and a little sprinkle of science on the side. Consider me your modern day pink witch with my spiritual toolbox packed full of ideas to energize and inspire you and to put the action into the law of attraction. Let this podcast be your weekly fix because, my beautiful soul, it is time to turn your vision board into a reality. Hello, beautiful souls. I am joined by the incredible Imogen. Oh my God, I've been dying to get this beautiful soul on my podcast for so long. And those of you that hear me in Sacred Souls talk about my experience of Reiki, this is the absolute queen who fixes me from the inside out every single time. Like, cannot rave about this girl enough. I think I've tagged about probably 50 people on your post, haven't I? Like, send anyone that comes into my clinic or into my space or a coach, I'm like, you need to see this woman. Like, you can't put it into words. So I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself and tell us all about your incredible lineup of credentials that you've got and everything to do with Reiki. We're going to talk meditation, moons. We're going to talk breath work. We're going to all the juicy stuff that we love talking about. So over to you, my darling.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. You're always such a good hype man. That was such a humbling intro. Better than I could have said it for
well
sure.
deserved.
Really grateful to do this and to be able to chat about it all. I love talking about all of this. So yeah, I'll get started. So I think you introduced me really well. So my name is Imogen Rae and I am a psychic energy healer. I also teach yoga and meditation classes, breath work, which I know you've had great experiences with recently. But yeah, my main thing is the psychic energy healing and the intuitive side and the mediumship and everything. So it started off for me as, I think this is when you came to me, I was still practicing this way as well. When you first came to me, that is, I was and still do use occasionally Reiki. I'm a Reiki practitioner. So it started off as Reiki level 1, and I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day, and I think it's interesting how in the beginning you feel like you need all the certificates, like you just mentioned, like the credentials and everything, and you think that you need those certifications kind of lined up and, I don't know, maybe placed on a wall in your therapy room or something, just to prove you are something and you're practicing in alignment with it. And that's all great and amazing. But then what happens when you start to create your own thing and you're veering off course, or you're using a different type of energy, or things just seem to click in place, but you can't really explain it in way of certification. And so I've kind of now gone away from that a little bit. And I just call it energy healing. Yeah, because Reiki's a channel that you use, and anyone can be attuned to Reiki, and I encourage anyone to do Reiki level 1 because it's wonderful and a great insight into your own energy and getting in tune with yourself and your own chakras. And you do a 30-day cleanse afterwards, and it's just a really good way to sort of flush everything out and get in tune with your own body. But then I felt like, and this is something I've probably never admitted publicly, but that when I did my Reiki level 2 and 3 and I became a Reiki master, those were just to kind of keep up with what I was already practicing at anyway. So I felt like I was already kind of practicing at those levels of intuition and deep healing. And I just needed the credentials to be able to back up what I was already doing. So then what I've done now is open up my own channels. So that instead of using Reiki as a channel, I use my own channels. And that's why I just call it energy healing. But you've experienced it all the way through, I think. I think you first came to me when it was Reiki. And you've been to me since.
When did I first come to you? Like 2 years ago, before the pandemic?
Yeah, well, I think it was during. I think it was when it was all very heavy.
During, and I was having a really tough time with my network marketing business that I was currently in at the time. I'm no longer with that business.
Yeah.
And I was having a real traumatic, like, I should be successful and I should be this. And then I was like, obviously we all had stuff we were going through lockdown anyway. And I was just in this really odd energy space. And one of my friends was like, why don't you go and get Reiki? And I was like, I know, I did my Reiki 1 and 2. Why did I not think, like, sometimes you just don't, when you're in that moment, aren't you, of just like utter chaos in your brain and body. You're like, just sometimes it needs someone else to tell you what you probably tell all your friends. So yeah, I don't even know how I found you. I think you must have just come up on my Instagram or something. You know, when it's one of those things where I'm looking for something and then
everyone says that. Yeah, everyone says it just comes to them at the right time.
It's cool. I was like, I'm going to message her, and you're like, actually, I do it distantly. And I was like, how on earth does that work? If you're like, where were you, Bali? You were in Bali.
No, I was actually I think I might, oh no, maybe I was in Dubai then, and then I went back to the UK for a bit. But yeah, I've been all over. So I think I've healed you from Asia, Europe, the UK, Australia, the whole shebang.
Every continent, all weird time
Yeah.
zones. I love it. I'm always like, babe, I need a session.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever experienced Reiki in that way, because what Imogen does, and she'll explain it in a second, because I would love to know the ins and outs of what you actually do when we're not together, how it actually works.
Yeah.
But when I'm led on my bed, I'm listening to the music that Imogen sends you, which is just adorable. I'm led there and I can feel your hands on my body. Like I can feel zones of my body that you're working on. Like I can feel your hands on my stomach, or I can feel like, oh, there's like a crunching in my knee. And like, I can feel her getting to work in that zone. And then the next day she sends you like this, I can't even describe it. It's like a psychic reading script of every area of your body, from like all through the chakras. And it's like having a psychic reading with you as well. So not only do you get the clear, you get the Reiki, you get a psychic reading. And I was like, I have never experienced this before. And it was like, oh my God, this was so true. And you even picked up stuff about my son at the time. You probably don't remember this, but like he wasn't reading very well, and like he needed my attention. And like there were certain zones where I needed to spend more time with my husband and my family. And you're like, Kevin needs you at the moment. And there was like all these areas of my body in pain were coming up because I needed to do this other stuff. And it was a massive eye-opener. I was like, we do so much work within, don't we? We eat healthy, and we can go to the gym, and we can drink water.
Absolutely.
And do a meditation and all these amazing things. But then there's just this stuck energy sometimes in your body that you can't shift on your own. And that's when I've started to realize, okay, it's okay to ask for help, because I'm really bad at that. I was like, it's okay to admit actually that there's parts of you that need healing from somebody else. Like you can't do this all on your own all the time. And I call it like a Imogen MOT. Like she'll get like every sort of 3 to 6 months, and sometimes I'll have you like quite a few sessions in one go if I need it, and then you won't hear from me for ages, and then I'll book you in. But
exactly,
and that's the beauty of you. It's like you just and quite often you message me, don't you? And you're like, oh, that's so weird. I was just thinking about you today. Like you were popping up in my brain, and we'll talk about my hospital in a minute. But I want you to tell us like. Tell me what you do when you're not, like when we're in that session, because I would love to know as well.
Yeah, of course. I'll go into all of that and talk about all of that. And I just want to touch on what you just said as well about you know, looking for external help, and it's just not a sign of weakness at all. Like I think for a long time the ego tells you that it's a sign of weakness, or even if you're a healer yourself, like you said, you did Reiki level 1 and 2, that you think, why can't I do this for myself? But it's a completely different experience going to someone else who's got a non-biased view of you and your energy, and it's just a way deeper way in. But so what I do when we're not together, like the tricks of a magician, basically when you're lying down and you're in meditation, I have crystals lined up, and sometimes I'll just go with, I get messages through from spirit, so that's why sometimes I'll maybe message you, like you said, on Instagram, and you'll have been thinking of me, or some vice versa. And sometimes it's just like a message that I get through, and I'll contact someone and say, look, I got this for you, or something. I think we've done that a couple of times before.
You've done that a couple of times with me. Yeah, you're like, I've got this message. I was like, oh my God, I so need to see you. Can we book in like tonight?
And it always links with what's going on. So you'll be in meditation, and from your side, it's pretty much you're just lying there, as you said, listening to the music and feeling the sensations in the body and experiencing the meditation, and maybe having some emotions lifting up and some visuals or something. It depends how open you are intuitively, and we can come into that later as well. But from my side, and this is what I always find not necessarily difficult to put into words, but I really just tune in psychically to each area of your body. And I think that's something that's not super common with healers. I think some do tune into individual areas one by one, but I don't think a lot of people give like a reading afterwards, as you called it. So the report that I give afterwards of everything that came up for me, that I felt into, that I cleared out. So I like to give that because and I don't include every single thing that comes up. I ask if it's necessary to repeat the information. But the reason I give that is so that going forward, if something's really making you feel good, or if something's really blocking your energy and making you feel not necessarily bad, but feeling trapped or, you know, stuck, then you're kind of going to want to know that that's doing that to you, that maybe you need to sort of veer off of that course, or So for example, the easiest thing that I can think of is the throat chakra. So if you're holding something in that you need to
oh my God, I was just going to say this, the throat, because I kept getting throats all the time, and you were like, you are blocking what you want to talk about, which was my spiritual side and setting up sacred souls and doing all what I'm doing now. And you were like, you're totally locking it down and blocking it. It's why you keep getting a sore throat. And the other thing was that there's this baby girl that I've always wanted, this second baby, and you're like, you're actually blocking her at the moment from your thoughts, going, oh, I do want a baby, but like I've got all this stuff going on, like I'm busy, and you're like, she's like literally waiting to come in, and you keep blocking her. And I was like, oh my God, it was such an opening moment. I was like, I actually am doing that with my words. I didn't realize.
Of course. And it's like, it's a sensitive subject as well when things come up to do with children. I have lots of mostly female clients actually, but I do have a lot of male clients too. But and things will come up regarding, for example, I don't know if I need to give some sort of like warning before I mention this, but like miscarriage, or the loss of children's or souls, and they're still around, and I can see them and feel them around.
And you picked up that as well. So we did have a miscarriage. Harley was about 1.5 years old. It was like in the middle of lockdown, and you totally picked that up as well. You were like, your baby was like gone to be with your loved ones,
and I will ask as well if that person.
You're like, you picked that up. I was like, you're so good.
Oh, thank you. But I will also ask if that person's ready to receive that information, because not everyone's ready to receive that or hear about it. And I think with you and I, we'd work together a fair few times, or sometimes I'll just use wording that isn't super clear, but they'll know what I mean when I say what I say, but it just don't have to bring it up in all its heaviness in case it's going to sort of trigger someone massively. But so I think that's another sensitive subject that I've learned to sort of ask spirit and see if they're ready to hear about it, and if they want to know, or if they if they've moved past it and it's just old energy clearing out, and I don't need to mention that in the report. So there's so much that goes on that doesn't even get written in the report as well. But I basically focus on each area individually. That's why you'll feel certain things in certain areas at certain times. I cleanse the space beforehand, use lots of rituals for protection for myself and for you. So I'll be sending you loads of protection at the beginning and at the end normally. There's so much that's involved to it that I can struggle to put into words, because a lot of it involves psychic intuition.
Yeah, it's just good to hear that. That's enough. Like, you just to have an understanding of it, because a lot of people ask me, like, how does it work then? And I was like, well, it's energy. Like, how do we explain energy anywhere? How do we explain the law of attraction? Like, it's kind of on that sort of vibration, isn't it? And it's so much deeper than that with you, because it's like you're seeing into my soul, and then I'm getting like this photographic print up the next day of everything that's going on in my body. And even stuff that I wasn't aware of, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's why I've got that pain there, or maybe that's why actually I'm holding on to fear about launching my business. Like when I launched my course, I remember you saying there's so much back pain, like you're thinking of old stuff that has come up, like you're connecting it to old things that have, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally what I have been trying to work through. And then you come along and you're like, rush it all out my body, and I'm like, I just feel so good. I've never had, I know some people experience the next day where they might feel emotional. I've very rarely ever had that experience. I'm always like, oh, it's like a weight's been lifted for me. It's like going for a massage internally with you. And then the next day my head is like so clear. I'm like, oh, my brain is buzzing again for ideas. And I'm like, I know when I'm in that zone of like high vibe working, I'm like, that's when I'm in my best space. And I sometimes when I get to that low point and I'm like, okay, I just need to like take a night off and watch some TV. And I'm like, actually, sometimes I don't. I just need to book a session with you. And I like to pick which I do need to do actually. I was thinking that stuff must have on for ages, and I've got so much stuff coming up soon. So I'm like, I need a good clear out.
But yeah, like you said about the different that's something that I didn't actually touch on. But when I focus on the different chakras or the different parts of the body, each part of the body will tell me something different. So in terms of energy, different parts of your body relate to different things. So we already said the throat can be to do with speech, which is kind of like obvious, but even things like I'll feel into the kidneys, and often with women, we hold stress in the kidneys. So women that get lots of UTIs and things like that. So, and then I'll kind of ask, is this physical or is this emotional? And a lot of the time I'll get an answer as to whether it's emotional stress that's causing the blockage there, or whether it's a physical pain. And the physical pain is coming from the emotional stress anyway. So it's just kind of figuring out what's going on with each area. So there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of digging deeper and kind of just figuring out how it all goes, but each area of the body tells me something different. It's like a map.
Fascinating. So are you teaching yoga at the moment as well out there?
So I'm having a break at the moment, but yeah, I'm normally teaching yoga. Yeah, I was doing quite a few classes a week before in Perth, but I've just moved down to the Southwest Cape and it's absolutely beautiful down here, and I'm just trying to find my feet a little bit.
You have to follow Imogen if you want to get jealous of someone's, like, not judging. It is stunning. Like every country she goes to, I'm like, oh, I feel like it's like a little travel board on your Instagram.
Yeah,
but following you around,
living out of a suitcase, just sort of making it work. And yeah,
that's the way to be, isn't it? And we were talking before we came on the call about breath work as well. So I experienced breath work as part of a course I did through lockdown, actually, and it was we only touched on it. We didn't become practitioners, but it enabled us to teach it if we wanted to. I am nowhere near ready to teach it. I need to go and do like a proper course on it and things, but I cannot tell you the impact that had on me. The first time I did it, I had loads of resistance, actually. Like I was like, this is annoying. This is ridiculous. Like my whole head, my whole ego was just like, well, this is shit. Meditation. Like I breathe every day. Like I was a bit like about it. And then I remember her coaching us on this Zoom call, and she was just like, honestly, about now you're probably going to try and talk yourself out of it, so keep going into the next track. And it was the next song that I felt like I'd done magic mushrooms. Literally my whole world opened up, and I was like, it was the most magical experience, and now I'm obsessed with it. I like listen to breathwork stuff all the time and do my own practice. But tell us all about, like, I'm rubbish at explaining breathwork, so I'll let you do that. But
no, you've just given it a wonderful explanation. Yeah, definitely don't diminish
just breathe yourself, and you'll feel like you've done magic mushrooms. No,
but that's basically a summary, and it's quite interesting because often people will come back to me, not to keep going back to the energy healing, but they'll say the best way to explain that session was it was almost like I'd done psychedelics, or it was almost like I was in a trance, or I was in a really deep meditation. And I can get that result from energy healing sessions, if it's a silent session, like with meditation music, or I can get it from meditation itself or from breath work. And I've been in some amazing breath work classes, and I've led some, well, what I believe to be great classes, but I'm biased, obviously. And people really do come into that sort of psychedelic state where they're visualizing things, and it's like a trance. It's like you feel like you're asleep, but you're not. And there's different ways to doing breath work in order to bring the energy up the body. So when we think about the crown and the third eye chakras, they're at the top of the body, they're on the head. So a lot of the time with breath work, you're focusing on the belly and the chest. And if you slowly, gradually build it up so that you're kind of breathing up and you're visualizing it going up into the crown and the third eye, that's when I think a lot of the time that's
the breathing,
spiritual feeling.
Yeah, I used to be a fitness instructor years ago. So we were always taught breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, like you are in meditation. But this is all mouth, isn't it? Or is it?
Yes. With breath work, it can be in through the mouth and in through the nose, out through the mouth, or it can be in and out through the nose throughout yoga, for example. So it kind of like switches up depending on what it is that you're doing. And in yoga, a lot of the breath work that I teach will be pranayama, which yoga teachers or people that go to yoga would know that. And a lot of the time, that just again depends on which type of technique you're using, whether it's through the nose or through the mouth. So
it was all mouth, and I found that really hard. Like it took me so long to get into it, because I'm like, and now I do it on my own.
I think, I think when you're used to doing, but when you're used to doing it one way and you go to a class and they do it a different way, that is when you find the sort of challenge, and you think, no, I want to do it how I do it, and I want to do it the way I'm used to doing it. And my little ego and me thinking about me wants to do it this way, even though you're telling me to do it that way.
I was like, she doesn't know how to breathe properly. I was like, this
she doesn't know anything.
She doesn't know anything. Yeah, oh my god, it's awful how we're like that. And then I was like, oh, here we go.
It's the little ego, and it's almost like the little child in us. And I do a lot of inner child healing with my sessions and stuff as well, and that's what comes up for me a lot of the time. Like we have an inner child and we have an inner teenager, and a lot of the time people's healing comes through from the childhood. So that's like how you mentioned earlier about saying, sometimes there's things that you just can't clear yourself, and of course there isn't, because we've all got things from childhood, whether we had a perfect, no one had an absolutely perfect childhood. And there's always things from your surroundings and your environment that will have affected you. So you've got your inner child from like ages 0 to 7, and then you've got your inner teenager, which is obviously your teenage years, which is a more rebellious and revolting side. And I feel like that's what comes out in me when I go to
terrible. So's mine. I have to really work on that. Oh, she's the judge.
She wants to argue with everyone. She thinks she's right all the time.
Oh, totally. And that I was like that as a teenager as well. I always had to have my say.
Well, that was part of what being a teenager is. Like, teenagers can't be told. They will revolt.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem finding my voice if I go into my teenage Rebecca. Like, ooh, yeah. There was one part of me actually that's like, do I want a little girl? Because I know the mother through. Like, no, I'm joking. I do. If you want to be part of a powerful community of like-minded soul sisters, goal-getters and big dreamers, then the Sacred Souls membership could be for you. This is my new monthly moon meditation and manifestation membership for women who want to learn how to manage their mind, attract their dream life, and blend equal measures of mindset and spiritual development into their life. You'll get to turn your vision board into your reality and do this alongside supportive coaching from myself and be alongside like-minded, soul-aligned community of women. I am so excited to bring this to you. It's starting in January 2023. Jump in now, check out the link in the bio. It's just £19 to join, and I'm keeping it that low for a very short time. So jump on in there and sign up today, because I can't wait to have you in my space and just pour even more love into you. Tell us a bit more about the breath work. So where are we going with that? Is it like a transcendental kind of meditative state? Is that
I don't do transcendental. It's a specific type of it's a specific type, and I've actually never done it myself either, which is surprising. But I think it's when it's because I do everything when it comes to spiritual stuff. But I think it's when it's in silence, and I actually personally like to have music going on in the background. I think that I can meditate without it, but I actually just prefer doing it with. And so with the breathwork side of things, I've done a lot of workshops and classes and courses and stuff, and it's really great way to either calm down the nervous system, so when people first come into a class or into a workshop, to really like calm the energy. Or I've got friends and relatives and stuff that have anxiety, so teaching them just the basic box breathing method that a lot of people will know. So inhaling, holding and exhaling and retaining the breath for equal counts. So in for 4, retain for 4, exhale for 4, retain for 4. I love that. And if you just repeat that over and over, honestly, your brain is so busy thinking about the breathing and the counting that you don't really have a chance to, not that I'm saying that completely cures anxiety or anything, but it really does help kind of bring yourself back into the present.
We forget so much about the breath, how powerful that breath is. And even in those, even when you catch yourself in those moments of stress, you do take a bigger breath, don't you? Like, you're, your body.
Or you find yourself holding, you'll be holding your breath without realizing it, scrunching your shoulders up and clenching your jaw. And we're all guilty. I do it all the time. And sometimes I saw this funny meme earlier, and it said, at this point, if I feel like if I unclenched my jaw, relaxed my shoulders, and breathe in deeply, I would dissolve like a piece of cotton candy, because that's how stressed that person is that was writing that. And that's so true. We've all been there.
The best memes on your stories. They just make me laugh. They're always funny.
Spiritual humour.
Like sage or something. They just always make me laugh.
I have to poke fun at ourselves,
oh my god, I think we need to get you to do a breath work in Sacred Souls, because you're coming on 22nd of, I think it's around the 22nd of February or something. Is it? I mean, we booked it yesterday, didn't we?
Or is it next? I think, was it the 16th we said? Oh no, 15th? Or was it 22nd?
Yeah, I can't remember.
A Wednesday.
It was a Wednesday. We'll sort it out. It's in a couple of weeks.
I'm so bad with dates and numbers, and I just let it all kind of merge, and it all happens when it happens. I get a sign, I get a message.
No, but I think I'll get you to do a breathwork session and for the girls in there, because that would be magical.
Definitely.
That'd be so good. So also tell us, you are as obsessed with the moon as me. We both love the moon calls, because you had your own moon call as well, didn't you? I know you've moved now, you've probably parked it for a little bit, but you have a beautiful moon call that you do as well. So tell us all about that, so people that are listening across the globe can join in with her, and just check her out on Instagram as well. I'll put her Instagram handle in the show notes so you can click on that. But tell us all about that, because yours is different to mine. You do yoga in yours, don't you?
It started off, I kind of just edit it for each week, so each fortnight. So I was doing and I'll start them up again soon. It's just been, we had a little call before this chat didn't wind. I'm just finding my feet again back in Australia. But Yeah, and I was doing them for the new moon and for the full moon, and they'll be starting up again soon for sure, because I just love them so much. I get so much from them. I put pranayama, so breath work, in there. I do mudras, so different gestures with the hands that link to a certain chakra or to the moon or to whatever it is that we're focusing on. And as you know, and your followers will probably know, each full moon and new moon relate to different emotions, a different astrological sign, a different feeling within the body, and a different need to what you're bringing in or what you're releasing. So we just had the Leo full moon, didn't we? And that was all about, we keep talking about it, and that's why, because we've just had the Leo full moon, and it's all about releasing from the throat chakra and speaking your truth. So that's why that's come up so much in this call, I'm sure. But yeah, and it was just a lot of deep breathing. We had journaling prompts, breath work that would connect us to different sides of the body, whether we needed to connect to the feminine or the masculine. And just, it was a quick 30 minutes to just be able to go inwards. And I was leaving them as recorded so people could pause them. And if they wanted to redo certain parts or take longer on the journal prompts, then they can if they want. So, and they could keep watching that video for the next 2 weeks up until the
honestly,
next.
One day I do pray that you will move back to the UK, and that I always and I like one day when I have my retreat in my field, we will be doing something together. I can totally sense that.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to do something together. You'll be doing all the breath
little
work.
guided moon meditations and healing for specific chakras. And yeah, that's
I've actually just started my sister circle training, which starts this Thursday. So it's learning how to do moon circles from back in the olden times. So how they used
wow.
I know. So like she deals with that. She goes from like now to like from past time to present. So like every month we're learning about new stuff and what to bring into your cycle. So yeah, I'll share it with you. Like whatever I'm learning, I'm always happy to share across the globe. But that would be so powerful for like for in-person.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I know. Like we're learning about the history of women's circles, which I know a little bit about. Anyway, I did a bit of a podcast episode on that not that long ago. But it's fascinating, and I think you probably feel the same as me, coming together with women. Like I grew up actually hanging around with boys all my life. I always had boyfriends. I always hung out with boys. I went traveling with boys around Thailand and Australia. Like I always hung out with men because I felt I had a better time with them. And what I realized was actually through all this healing I've done was the missing link in my life was sisterhood. And I haven't ever had a really close-knit group of girlfriends. And I think when you get, I have men on my class probably like you do as well, but it's something powerful about women coming together in that circle. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell us about that, your experience with women. Like, do you feel the same? Like, do you get that kind of sisterhood?
Do you know what?
Like, it's the energy that we get as well from the classes, isn't it?
Yeah. I resonate with a lot of what you said. Like I've obviously, like you, always had female friends and stuff, but a lot of the time I had a lot of male friends and stuff when I was younger, or like you said, just felt drawn to hanging out with lots of different people rather than having that solid core group sometimes. And I feel like actually it's probably a bit of a sign, this, but sometimes when I do these workshops, it is just all women that show up, and I'll have like a certain playlist for if it is just all women that show up, or if there's some men in there, because some of the songs are about like the Shavasana kind of songs and stuff, or for guided meditation. It's about the feminine, and it's talking about, you know, being in a circle of sisterhood and being women and stuff and being together. And those songs and those circles are always so powerful, because I do feel like there's a lot of repressed energy and healing to be done within the feminine. As we all know, we're still a lot of people working towards.
And when you learn about that, when you go back through the history and learn about what happened, when
there's a lot of suppression, so people aren't in touch with their feminine energy because they feel like it's a weakness, and sometimes they feel like, or even actually something that's been cropping up for me recently, I've got to talk about this, is that I've been seeing on social media and just in general, people talking about feminine and masculine energy, and they'll talk about women, and it's normally coming from men, but not always, saying, oh, you know, women need to be more in their feminine like they were before. And when they're describing the feminine, it's not how I feel into it as an energy. They're describing it as like a softness and a subservience, almost subservience, and as if they should be sort of, you know, meek and mild and but sexy, but also, you know, like that, you know, very meek and mild and just be serving others, sort of thing. And I sort of don't really agree with that, because when you're feeling into the energy,
And
yeah, when you're feeling into the energy, you have a balance. I always, as you know from our sessions, I always balance the masculine and feminine. You need both. And when it comes to feminine energy, it doesn't have to be soft and supple and dreamy. It, you know, your feminine energy can be strong and fierce and loyal and, you know, speaking up for others and defensive. Yeah, it can be everything.
When you go back and learn what they used to do, like we're talking like, you know, AD time, that women would every full moon. So she did this on our first course. She talks about this. The original full moons would be women from all towns, villages, cities would congregate, meet, share spells. They would share rituals. They would share medicine. They would share what was going on with their partners. They would like give each other advice, and it was powerful.
It was a mother's meeting.
Yeah, right.
It was a mother's meeting.
Then they would go back to the men, and the men would be like, what happened? Like excited and like praising them like they were like these goddesses of their town. And they would come back with this intuition about what was going to happen with the land, and almost like very psychically sort of like saying what was going to happen and what they needed to do and get ready for that season. And the men were like in awe of these women. And then it changed. And then they're like, literally their throats were like closed, because they're like, you talk about this and you're gonna be killed. The witch hunts came.
Yeah.
So there is that we're still holding on to as women as well. And I'm sure you feel this when you're in that space, they feel like they're coming home. When they come to our circles, they're like, oh, I just feel like it's the sisterhood I've never had. And I think we have such a responsibility to make that more mainstream as well. I know you are an incredible job of what you're doing, but both of us,
but you too, you've drawn so many people into the moon calls, and it's not really a coincidence that we're both into this kind of field, and we're both super drawn to moon calls and spreading these circles with the moon and everything. I mean, it's kind of just, it's all sort of meant to be. I kind of believe that everything aligns like that, and I know you do too. So, and you know, if you've got this inner calling and calling from your ancestors, as you were just talking about, then it's obviously going to come up in your life, and you're going to not be able to ignore it, and we clearly haven't ignored it.
So how can people find you if they want to book in for your amazing Reiki sessions? Like these sessions, we didn't mention this. You didn't talk about when I was in hospital. So I ended up in hospital.
Yeah, we need to go through all of this, because that was wild. That was wild.
Massive, big, swollen up face. Like it was insane. I had the worst infection inside of my face. I had some dermal.
I got this photo and it was just, I think, did I get the photo before I did the session, or did I get the photo after and I already knew what it looked like? I think it was after. I already knew. I knew what it looked like.
I was like, I'm in hospital. I completely forgot about messaging you. I really need your help. Like, I've been told I'm going to look like this for 6 months. And you're like, right, okay, I was losing my shit, because I was like, oh, yeah, just breathe. Like, you're not gonna, the doctors are telling me you're going to like this for 6 months. And then my friend, who's Dr. Xavier, he was like, you're really witchy, do all your manifesting Reiki shit. He was like, anything you can do, like just do all that stuff and you'll get rid of it, babe. He's so like white like that. He was like, you'll be fine. And I was like, I need to message Imogen. And then you came up and you were like, I've been thinking about you today, you okay? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm literally in hospital and about to message you. This is so weird. I was like, you were like, what's going on? He sent her a picture of my face and you were like, okay. You were so I thought you were going to come back like, oh MFG, like on a tech, and you weren't. You were really professional. You're like, no worries, let's get the session done today. I can do it in the next. Can you get on the bed? I'm like, I'm led on a hospital bed. I'm like, I'm ready to go, babe. And I've never been so like panicky actually about anything in my life.
It was quite down. You were quite downtrodden, weren't you? It was a bit of an experience.
You were picking up almost like you were like, this feels like cancer in your face, because it had gone like concrete in my face. It was awful.
Yeah,
and it was so hard and so painful. The doctors were giving me antibiotics. They're like, you're going to be like this for about another 6 months. And I was like, oh my god, like I can't deal with that. Within 24 hours, my whole face had gone down. The doctor, I remember him opening the curtain in the morning. He was like, oh my God. And I
that was
like, what did you do? And I was like, do you know what? He goes, I said to him, I don't know if you're into this, but my friend messaged me from Australia. She's just done some Reiki on my face. And he goes, oh, I'm really into that. My wife does Reiki. He said, can we use you as a case study? Because that's really interesting. I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, use my pictures. I don't mind. And he was like, come taking my pictures. And like, he could not.
It just wasn't supposed to go down either, was it? You were like, there's no way this is gonna. And I was like, oh. And when you said that, when you mentioned it felt like cancer, the reason I said that is because there's a certain type of healing I can do where you kind of like you're going in really deep. It's like what you'd use if someone had cancer. I think that might have been what I said. I can't remember. But
you actually said that.
And you kind
said,
of
I felt this in your body before, and I said no, don't. It's not that. It's that I had dermal filler in my cheek. A friend did it, and then it went in the wrong place, which can happen. Like these things happen with aesthetics, and I have my own clinic. Like I've never had any complications before, but it's all good. It happened, and it was meant to happen for whatever reason. It actually made me appreciate my body and my face and look at myself differently. I said that, I was like, I promise, like, you start praying, you're like, okay, I promise to be really nice to myself. I promise never to like my body, like, please make my face go down, and I'll never like bitch about my own face and body ever again. And actually, really weirdly, I started to see myself as beautiful after that. I was like,
of course, because you're so grateful and accepting of your face, because you just promised that you will be.
Yeah, I just totally looked at myself differently. I really did. And I started to have an appreciation for my body and my health. And I was like, okay, that was meant to happen. That was meant to make me stop being so self-critical of how I looked. I was like, so it happened for a reason. Yeah. So
I mean, as awful as it was, and as awful as that is to say, that everything happens for a reason. And of course, it's horrible when people go through things to say, oh, it all happens for a reason. But I mean, in this case, that definitely was meant to be, because you needed to learn something from it. And definitely to do
even the nurses were just like, what? That is insane. And I was like, I know.
Yeah. No, and I really just like made space, didn't I? I was like, look, we're going to do this. And we just
so quick. It was in about an hour. You were like, get on your bed in an hour. I was like, I am led on this bed doing jack shit but watching box sets. I'm waiting for my face to go down. I was like, I'm all good. I'm not going anywhere. I am not leaving the building.
I think I even said, I was like, I was getting number 6. And it's not, and I knew it was to do with time. I was like, look, I think it's going to be 6 weeks. And I had it in my head, right? I want to say days, but I don't want to say days just in case it wasn't super clear. So I said 6 weeks. And then I remember 6 days later, you messaged me like, just to let you know.
No, that is completely gone. Like it had gone down like 80% the next day because my eye was still heavy, and then within 6 days it had gone. But I was in bed number 6 as well when you messaged me. I was just like, this is also like, I feel good. Like you just made me feel so good. And I was like, I just needed to feel good, because I knew I needed to feel good in order to heal. And I couldn't get my head in that space on my own. So I was like,
and that's the thing. I think and I don't know, I don't want to put that, you don't need to put all that on me, because it's also your work from your side. And I say that to my clients as well, because the amount of work you put in yourself will show within how you feel afterwards. I know you say you always feel really good afterwards, and sometimes people need to feel emotional, need to let it all out, but they're not going to feel and get everything from it.
My whole face was like, I can't even describe this feeling, right? So like those wrappers that you get with all the poppers on, when you're a kid and you used to pop them all, like the packaging. That's what it felt like. So when you were doing it, it was like everything was popping. Like I could feel it all going pop, 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 like almost like popcorn underneath my skin.
Yeah.
And then I remember looking in the mirror thinking, and I remember not even thinking, please, please. I was like, this is going to look, I just like telling myself, this is great. It's leaving my body. I kept visualizing it leaving my body. It's leaving, it's going. I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I think, and you'll know, because like you've worked with me before, that like the more you do that, the whole affirmations and manifestations and the outside work of the sessions that we have, then the more it's gonna come back to you tenfold. So you knew all the right things to say and do in that moment, and once we calmed you down and got you out of that bit of peak, then I think like it was all just, I was having a
proper little tantrum. I really was, not with you, just myself. I was like, oh my god, I was literally like that.
But anyone would. And the face is actually
deal with this.
The face is actually a really big thing, isn't it? Because like your face, your teeth, that kind of thing, that's your outward self. So that's how you're showing yourself. So that's why, when we have dreams about our teeth crumbling and all that kind of stuff, it's all like signs of self-appearance and vanity and all of that kind of stuff in the subconscious. So of course, if your face is swollen up, you're going to feel really out of sorts. Yeah, because you didn't look like yourself.
But I'm all good now. Face is back to normal.
Yeah.
But, thank you so much.
Beautiful and symmetrical.
Thanks, babe. Good. But thank you for joining me today, sharing all your top tips and all your wisdom. Tell me how people can find you so that they can join your moon calls and they can book you for Reiki. Like, if anything that I've said today is making you think, oh, how do I book her? Just book her. Like, just get on. Really easy. Click it. She's got all her time. By the way, when you get the times, that's your time in your country, not hers. So wherever in the world, that'll be the time that you can see. What's your time difference? The moment you something crazy like?
At the minute, I'm 8 hours ahead of the UK because I'm in Perth. But I can also do healings while people are asleep. So you can find me at my website, which is imogenreiki.com.
Maybe you did one for Harley
And
as
that's
well.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So you can find me at imogenreiki.com, but it's Reiki spelled because my name is Imogen Rae, Raeki, and then that's the same as my Instagram handle, Imogen Rae, and then Ki.
Just look for Imogen friends if you can't find it.
All the timings are in your local time zone, and everything's on there. And if you have any inquiries, you can send that through there too. I have people that come to me just as a one-off, or I have people that come to me and they're working with me either twice a month or 4 times a month, and they're expanding their third eye, and they're getting their own psychic senses and having everything
like
come through in
Pringles.
their meditation. So
you're like a pop Pringles. Once you pop with Imogen, you can't stop. You go back to her. It's an addictive feeling. It's a lovely feeling. Anyway, I will get on and book you within the next few weeks and get a session with you. But thank you so much for joining us all today, and we'll see you so soon.
Thanks for having me. I've loved it.
Thanks so much, Anne.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm sending you a huge virtual squishy hug, and I hope today's episode has helped giving you some inspiration, energy, and a light bulb moment. So do share your light bulbs or any takeaways you've had on your socials and tag me in, as I absolutely love to hear from you. So if you love to share, you are going to love my giveaway. Every month I'm running a new competition to win a large moon box packed full of crystals, candles, affirmation cards, incense, my Love Yourself to the Moon and Back journal, and a real surprise of spiritual treats that change every month. So listen up if you want to win and get your hands on this, because all you have to do is, number 1, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Number 2, tag me on your socials with either a post, video or story of your top takeaway of that specific episode. Be sure to tag me in as @Rebecca Welstead-Green so that I see it, and you'll be entered into my free prize draw. So from my heart to yours, lots of love to the moon and back. Have a fabulous week, beautiful, and I can't wait to spend time with you again next week. Mwah!